Hi BookTube, it's Missy, and today I'm here to give you guys my, I almost said Thanksgiving, my November wrap up. It's going to be pretty short. I'm hoping it's pretty short. I already talked about some of these books, and I will leave that video link down below if you are interested in watching it over again. I also always put my Goodreads reviews down below with the titles of these books in case you would rather just quickly read my review instead of watching this video. I know some people don't have the patience to watch my videos because I ramble a lot. So there will be timestamps down below along with my reviews, so that way you can go to the books that you want to read or want to watch, right? Listen to me talk about, and then go to the reviews that you are only vaguely interested in. I'm just gonna go from the top and work my way down. I read In the House in the Dark of the Woods by Lard Hunt. I've already reviewed this in my previous video, so again, I will leave the link down below in case you want to check that out. This was a very strange book. I gave it was it 4 stars? Yes. Yeah, no, 3.5 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars because, one, it couldn't keep my interest. 2, it was like very rambly, as in I just couldn't keep up with what was going on. And 3, it was so strange. Like, I like strange books, but then there's like really strange. This is a dark fantasy, like fairy tale-esque kind of book about a mom who goes off into the woods to pick berries and becomes lost there. And time kind of stands still in the woods. We don't know how long she's been gone. And then she goes back home and there's no real reunion. The husband and the son are sleeping when she gets home, and she decides she doesn't want to be there anymore, and then she hikes it back into the woods. And that's the story. I mean, that's like the skeleton of the story. It's a woman who gets lost in the woods, finds her way home, and then decides she doesn't like it and goes back to the woods. It's very short. The font isn't huge. There's, you know, semi-decent sized margins. So it's a quick read if you aren't doing anything else. Does that make sense? Like, if you can keep your attention solely on this book, then it should, you know, go by really quickly. But I always read like 8 or 9, 10 books at a time. And so this was lost in the rest of the books that I was reading. And so keeping track of what was going on was a little hard. But it was interesting, and I did enjoy it, and I will be keeping it because I want to reread it at a later date where I can give it more attention. But I recommend, if you like dark, creepy, fairy tale-esque fantasy, you might like that one. All right. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. I also did a review on this. The link is down below. This was for my Thanksgiving readathon that no one participated in but me, but that's okay. You do need to give people fair warning when you're going to make a readathon if you want other people to join you. And I gave you guys like a day's notice. So I did read this. This is my first Octavia Butler book. I thought this book was fascinating. I gave it 4 stars. It's very taboo. It's very like on the fence of what is appropriate and what is not. In my last video, I go more into detail, but this did come out in 2005. Only a few months difference between Twilight, but I never heard about this book. This is also a vampire book. It's about a vampire who is, age-wise, she's 53, but physically she's only 10. And there's a lot of sex in this book with males and females, and they're all adults, and they are all doing it with this vampire child, like human vampire person. And, oh, there's one thing I didn't talk about in my last review that I want to talk about here. So our main character is a little black girl. right? She's a genetically modified vampire that has human DNA, so that way she can be in the sunlight. Now, this is what was tripping me up, and I did read this, I think, from somebody else in like another review on Goodreads, but everybody thinks that she's an abomination because, one, she's black, and two, because she is modified from humans. And there's like this whole racial thing going on in the book towards the end where everybody didn't like her because of her race, which is weird because if everybody started off as a vampire, or, you know, like there was this one vampire and then they gave birth to all these vampires and they all came from like Africa, just like the humans did, you would think that there would be other races that are also vampires. How can all the vampires just be white people? It doesn't make any sense. And these vampires don't, I don't remember them saying that you could bite somebody and then turn them into a vampire. That doesn't happen. Vampires are born, just like Vampire Academy. So you have the vampires. This is kind of like Vampire Academy. I wonder if she like read this first, the author, Rochelle Mead. I wonder if she read this first and then created her series like because of this, or if they all came out around the same time. I don't know. But so we have the vampire community. Again, they're all born as vampires. And then they have their symbiotes, the like their blood bags, right? The people that want to be with them strictly for feeding purposes, but also for protection. And when the vampires feed off of you, you're immune to natural, you know, diseases and cancers and viruses and stuff. And then you live a little bit longer. So the oldest vampire in here is about like 1,000. And the oldest symbiote, I don't know how you say the word, is like 300 or 200. Like, you have a very long shelf life if you are a blood bag for one of these vampires. With that being said, the race part really was strange to me. Because this author is a black woman. So why would all of her whole, like, world not have any other black vampires in it besides this little girl? Because logically, and vampires don't exist, logically though, all races would be vampires, not just white people, right? I don't know. I don't know, maybe because of the whole born thing and you can't bite someone and turn them into vampires. Maybe there was just one white person who was a vampire. Well, it's like the chicken and the egg kind of thing, right? Okay, there's two white vampires who then had babies and babies and babies and babies. But then there would be some kind of like incest thing, right? Wouldn't the vampire genes or something get tampered? Not tampered, but messed up, mutated. So many things. I don't know. This didn't take very long to read. It only took a little over a day. Definitely worth the read. I know there's that very taboo, very yucky aspect where this 10-year-old girl is having sex with all these adult males and females, but she's the main character, so it's not like she's being molested or raped. She's the one molesting and raping other people. So it doesn't make it better, but just so you guys know what the triggers of that book is. All right. The next book I read is The Neighbors by Ania Alborn. This is book 2 by Ania Alborn. I read it out of sequence. I read The Seed first, and then I read The Shuddering, which is actually book 3. So Ashley and I went back and read this one, which is book 2. Now in this one, what is his name? I forgot. The main character's name is Drew. Drew for short. He is living with a mother who is agoraphobic and an alcoholic. And the reason why she's agoraphobic is because when Drew was little, his dad left them for another woman, and so the mom was unable to cope with life after that, and so she just became a hermit and just drank to oblivion. And her son, as he grew up, realized that he's gonna have to get a job and take care of his mom because she can't function, and so he does. And at around 20, he decides that he's had enough. He doesn't want to do this anymore. So he ups and leaves his mother and his job at this grocery store, and calls on a friend that he used to have when he was little, like around 8 or 10. The friend moved away, but he just so happens to be able to find him, his number, and ask if he can move in with them. And the old childhood friend's like, yeah, sure, why not? So Andrew goes to this falling down, dilapidated shack of a house. And when he gets there, he sees like the entire street is like really nice homes, cookie cutter kind of stuff. Like you can just tell everybody's working, you know, blah, 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 living their lives. And then he parks in front of this glorious white picketed fence out of like a Stepford Wife kind of story. And it's beautiful and pristine and very magical, right? And he wants to go to that house. So it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Unfortunate Events, you know, Lemony Snicket, when the 3 Baudelaire kids go to live with the Count, and they first mistake the really nice, like, judge's house. Is she a judge? Or a teacher? I think she's a judge. Anyways, they go, oh, I want to live there, but it's actually the rundown, like, castle-like house is where the Count lives, Count Olaf. So yeah, it kind of reminded me of the Unfortunate Events books. So he gets out of the car, he starts heading towards this beautiful house, and then he realizes, oh crap, nope, that's the house I'm supposed to be going to. And then he trudges over to his old mate's house. And his friend is kind of like just vague and not really very caring that he's there. And he just says, like, go pick a room. And the house is a pigsty. And Drew's like, oh my God, did I make the right decision? And then a day or so goes by, and then he meets the neighbors, hence the title, The Neighbors. Come to find out, the neighbors are very kind of weird. The wife looks like, you know, someone from the 50s. She's got the immaculate dresses and makeup and hair, and nails are all done, and she's trimming the roses outside, and the husband is wearing like very nice clothes and he's mowing the lawn. It looks very, again, Stepford Wives, like, what is going on here? Something is amiss, right? And Drew gets compelled, not like a vampire compelling you, but he feels drawn to this house and to these neighbors, and then he starts working for them and realizing there's something definitely off about these neighbors. And yeah, that's the story. I'm not going to talk about any more of it because I don't want to give anything away. It was a very good, creepy book. I had like mixed feelings about it when I was reading it. I think I gave this book 4 stars. I just went to go look and see what I gave this book, and I said I gave it 5 stars. I might drop it to 4 because it was good. It definitely captured my attention. It was a quick read. I definitely wanted to pick it back up, but it doesn't have that oomph that I think it needs for a 5-star book. And I think when I first put it on when I first put it on Goodreads, because what I usually do is I read a book, and then as soon as I'm finished reading it, before I start forgetting all of the details, I immediately get onto Goodreads and I write a review, and I also give my ratings at that time. But sometimes after a while, my ratings can change. If I can tell you exactly what the book was about and get excited while I'm telling you guys it, then I like to bump up my rating a little bit, because that means, oh, hey, I liked it more than I thought I did. But with this book, I don't have that feeling. I have the feeling of like, it was okay. It wasn't like the best. So yeah, I think I will be dropping this to a 4. It was well written. I really do enjoy Ania Alborn's writing style, her characters, her world building. This one, it takes place in our world, but it's just tilted slightly, and I did enjoy all that aspect. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna hold on to this. I like a collection, and even though her books aren't in sequence, as in they all have the same characters and they're all in the same world, I do find it looks nice on the shelf to have all of the books from the same author if you do enjoy them. And so I will be keeping this one, and I might read this again in the future. But yeah, I highly recommend checking out Ania Alborn. You don't have to read her in chronological or publication order like I'm doing, because all of her books are standalones, but I'm having fun going this route. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is Diary of a Haunting by M. Verano, and this is the 3rd book in this trilogy of the Diary of the Haunting trilogy. I don't think there's any more books to this trilogy. This is Book of Shadows. The first book was about a haunted house. The second book was called Possessed, and it was about a girl who becomes possessed from like the devil. And then this is about witches. So this is a witch book. This one was good. I only gave it 3 stars, but I actually liked this one, so I think I might bump it up to 4. So with this one, it's about a girl who is best friends with a Wiccan, and her friend has been dabbling in Wicca for a couple of years now, and she's not like a pushover, that's not the right word. She's not like one of those religious people who like force the religion onto you. So our main character doesn't feel like she has to also be a Wiccan, but she's very interested in her best friend's religion, and she also has this like anger management problem where she's always getting into fights. Not for no particular reason. It's not like she has like a really bad childhood, and she has supportive parents. So it's weird that she's always getting into fights, but she's got like that, she's just has anger management. She gets that trigger where someone says something, she doesn't like it, and she just lashes out. So her best friend says, you know what, you really need to get a diary of some sort, or maybe a journal, to kind of like write out your emotions, so that way you don't lash out on people. And eventually our main character decides that, okay, fine, this is a good idea. Her name is Melanie. That's what her name is. And these are the 2 books that I was talking about. So we have the haunted house book, and then we have the one where the girl is possessed by the devil. I kept this one because this one was good. This one I didn't like. It just wasn't well written. But I did enjoy this one, so I'm keeping this one. So Melanie decides to go to the White Rabbit. I believe that's the title of the bookstore slash, you know those stores you go to where they have like all of those like little dragon figurines and insects. I almost said incest, which is completely the wrong word. Incense. There's incense, candles, and like there's books on a whole bunch of different religions, and it's just like one of those shops. So the White Rabbit's just like that. And Melanie's walking through. She's looking for a journal. She wants it to be special so that way she'll actually write in it. And she comes across this one that's very, like, it's leather. It's got really thin, like, onion skin pages in it. It's kind of like the Bible because it's got like gold edge. She looks inside and it's blank, and she goes, wow, I really want this. But she only had 20 bucks on her, and she thought, oh, this is so beautiful. It's going to be more than $20. I can just feel it. And so instead of going and asking the man at the counter how much this book costs, maybe, you know, saving up and buying it later, she decides to steal the book and take it home. And that is the start of all the craziness that happens afterwards. So kind of like with Harry Potter, when he goes and he writes in Tom Riddle's diary and it's blank, and then Tom Riddle talks to him through it. The same thing kind of happens with this journal that she's writing in. Instead of it writing back to her, it kind of like possesses her in a way where she feels like she's in a trance, and she draws all these horrific images. And so I'll show you a couple of them. Let me find, there was one. So here is one of the pictures that she draws in this journal. And when her best friend finds out that things manifest because of this book, she starts getting very scared, and she tells Melanie, no more. Do not use this book anymore. You need to get rid of it. And Melanie doesn't want to. Not only is she compelled to continue to write and draw in this book, but she feels like emotionally tied to it. She just can't make herself get rid of it. And so they decide to look up where this book came from. She confesses that she stole it. They find out that it's an actual grimoire from a coven that lives in the town that they also live in. And they go and they talk to these people, and those witches, try to take the book, and they run away, and other bad things happen. So yeah, definitely fun to read. It's all in diary format, because this is supposed to be a diary, and so you have, you know, the time and dates and days of the week in it. Here is underneath this jacket. I like that it's just a bunch of eyeballs. It's pretty creepy. Yeah, I did enjoy reading this book. It was a lot of fun, and it was definitely like, you know, when you eat some candy in between meals. That's what it was. It was just like, it was a fun little snack to go on before I got to all of the rest of them. All right, and then next I read The Goblin by Josh Malerman. This is a collection of short stories. Josh Malerman is one of my favorite authors. I've read like 4 or 5 of his books now. Really, really enjoy him. This is no longer available to purchase from Earthling Publishing. This is where I bought it from. But if you can find a copy of it, or an ebook or an audio version, I would definitely pick it up, because it is really good. I did talk about this in my last video. Again, link is down below. But I did enjoy the stories a lot, and I loved the fact that all of the stories took place in Goblin, this city that Josh Malerman created, kind of like Castle Rock with Stephen King. And I really hope that one day Josh Malerman starts writing more stories that take place in Goblin, because I would like to go back to these characters and see what happens with them. So that would be really cool. I know a lot of the times I don't like short stories, because they sometimes you catch the story in the middle and you miss the beginning and you don't know what's going on. Or sometimes you have a really good beginning and then you have the middle is going well and then the end is stupid and you're like, wait, what the hell just happened? With this one, I didn't have that same feeling because it was all set in the same town. So I felt like it was a full-length novel with just separate characters throughout the thing. So I really did enjoy this one. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, but I'm going to switch it to a 5 because, like I said, I really did enjoy that one. And then the last book that I read in November is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. And I did also go over this in my last video. If you have watched the movie, then you know exactly what this book is. The movie was made back in the 80s. It was my favorite movie growing up, besides Labyrinth. And I don't know. there's, for example, Lord of the Rings. If you love Lord of the Rings, the movies, and you read the book, you're going to go, oh my God, there's more little like stories that the hobbits went through, like on their adventure to meet up with Gandalf. There's things that happen to them on the way before they get to the prancing pony. And you don't get to see that in the movie. Even though the movie is like 4 hours long, there's a lot of things that Peter Jackson couldn't continually add to the movie because the books are so massive. Like, the world is immense, right? So a lot of those side stories couldn't be put into the movies. Whereas all of this stuff was put into the movie, except for the backstory of the three villains, which is Vicini, Fezzik, and Inigo Montoya. Everything else we kind of like get in the movie. Well, okay, Wesleyan and Buttercup, you don't really see their backstory either. Let me just take that back. Let me just rewind. All of the characters from the movie, you get all their backstories in the book. But if you're not interested in any of their backstories or how they came about, then you don't really need to read this because the movie is way better. Like, I gave this a 4-star, but the movie is 10. It's so much more enjoyable. And it's funny because in this book, William Goldman, who is the author, says that he wrote The Princess Bride as the abridged version of S. Morgenstern's unabridged version. Does that make sense? It took me a while to figure out what abridged and unabridged meant, but unabridged is the full novel. Abridged is the most important bits. They leave out some of the things. And so what William Goldman was doing in this book was taking all of the boring bits from the book that S. Morgenstern wrote and made it more easily digestible for the audience. However, when I say that, the movie itself is an abridged version of this book. So it takes out a lot of the stuff that you don't need, like the backstory of all the characters, and then you get to see all of the fun bits, the action, the love, the drama, the fantasy. This is a little bit longer and wordy, and there's a lot of fourth wall breaking from the author, and the fact that I don't even know if S. Morgenstern is a real person, and William Goldman just made him up to create this story, which again is a whole thing in itself. And then I didn't like the ending, which was well, there was a regular ending, and then there was there's supposed to be like a spin-off, but it's called Buttercup's Baby, which I didn't need to read because that part was kind of boring. And yeah, so I'm not going to go too much more into that book because you guys should know The Princess Bride, right? I hope so. Anywho, that is it for the wrap-up video. I did finish Killers of the Flower Moon on the cusp. It was like the 1st of December, but I'm going to leave that for the December wrap-up because I've already talked about a lot of books already, and this video is already long. So I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. For us teachers, we're all on break still. If you're not a teacher and you're working, I hope you are having a good day, and if you are off like me, I hope you're doing something that is, you know, proactive, because I feel like during my vacations, I tend to just veg all day long, and then at the end of the day, I'm like, God, I didn't do anything today. I feel like irritated. But yeah, I hope you guys are being proactive, and you're healthy, and you're happy, and I can't wait for this year to be over. And yeah, that's it. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for watching.